What's up, everybody, and welcome to Podcasting with Power. I'm Zachary Davis, and that's Jordan Carlson, and we're your Nintendo guys. And I don't know what else, but we're here to talk Nintendo news, rumor, review, all that fun stuff.
Lore.
You got some lore questions for me today. Is that going to happen?
Kind of, yeah, actually.
Well, let's let the people know what the hell we're talking about. So, of course, this is going to be our Metroid Prime 4 review, and we're going to talk a little bit, I think, about the franchise, because I'm going to take some time a little later to try to convince Jordan to play some more Metroid than he has. But we'll get to all that in a bit. In the meantime, what have you been up to? What's your Nintendo lifestyle been the past week? Oh, man. Look at that. So for audio listeners, we have two Analog 3D. That is the Nintendo 64 clone. Yes. What are they calling these things?
Analog 3D. So I can't say this black one's not mine. It's my buddy's. I'm configuring, okay. So I'm not a big baller over here. But
it's a cool image, though, having two. Look cool on screen.
But no, dude, I've been going through the N64 catalog over here. It's been really fun. So playing a lot of Diddy Kong Racing, of course. Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask is in mine right now. My buddy has the EverDrive in his. I'm going through the whole super crazy process of making that thing work. Oh my god!
I was gonna say I didn't think that worked out of the box, so that's a little bit of work.
The update came like the day that they arrived at my house, and then you got to do a bunch of stuff with the actual N64 to make it work. But it goes now. Thank God. That's nice. Cool. For those folks.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what I've been mostly up to. But I also dove into Ultimate Sheep Raccoon yesterday.
How did that go? So that's the follow up to Ultimate Chicken Horse, which you are a big fan of. Big fan.
I don't know, man. Sheep Raccoon, I got some bad feelings out of the gate. So
really?
Yeah, I'm a little bummed a little bit. I think I need more time to give it more of a fair shot, but the bike thing, it's very weird, very finicky, and very buggy right now.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
I know we were I don't remember if this was on the podcast or off of it, but I was asking you, are you making decisions like on the fly, like in real time, or do you stop and take turns? Like how does it handle the level creation in this one?
It's honestly, so far what I've seen, and again, could be early game, I don't know, not as many platforming options out of the box. Yeah. And then you also get, not only do you get those like platforming options, but you also get the like a mod. So like everybody gets these extra items, like the jetpack was from the first one. There's the jetpack again. There's one where when you jump, you like generate a little trampoline, so you get extra jumps. Okay. And the way that they did that is very cool because everybody gets one. So you get to kind of select a modifier that you like and will help you.
Yeah.
So that felt very cool. The thing that I don't care for is the bike controls are involved. Like you can't.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I don't think this is one of those games where you can hand the controller to somebody who's never really played a platformer or whatever. It doesn't share that same like charm that Ultimate Chicken Horse did, where you could kind of just put it on and have a good laugh and have a good time with people like you could on that first one. Like, yeah. So, I mean, I struggle. There's two different control types and both of them are a little tough. So I'm going to give it some more time. And I think ultimately my family is going to be a case study, and I don't think they know it, but we're going to put them through it and see how they do. But sure. First out of the box last night, real fresh, it was hard for me to kind of cling to. And I'm wondering what the reception's going to be. I'm going to like purposefully not set the tone for it and just be like, I got it, guys, let's go.
So I'm a little curious. Like I said, you're a big fan of Ultimate Chicken Horse. And obviously your first experience with this last night was by yourself. How much of that original game did you play alone? Is that maybe part of the problem?
So I played online quite a bit last night.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So I was playing with other people. Honestly, my exact words to Amanda, because she was sitting next to me kind of watching, I was like, let's see if anybody else is actually good at this game online. Like, let's see if anybody else is getting the hang of this thing. Because I was really struggling. I thought, because online play is intimidating if you're not doing
Definitely.
well.
Oh yeah.
And I was playing alone, like you had said, probably not a good gauge of the game. And I was finding myself having such a hard time kind of getting used to it, getting used to the swing, that I was starting to feel like there's no way anybody is very good at this right now. Like it's very fresh, very new. And I was pretty right. Most people online were still struggling quite a bit. So we'll see. I'm hoping they'll patch this thing because the clipping and the bugs are pretty annoying. Like you'll clip into a wall and you just can't get out of it.
That's no good. Okay.
And in the tutorial, when you bail off the bike, like if you wheelie or stoppy too much and you bail, sometimes you're just the bike on the ground and you don't come back.
Oh, okay.
So
well, yeah. Hopefully they can patch that stuff up. Hopefully, there's some different energy when you actually have people in the room playing with you. So fingers crossed. I want to love it.
I want to love it. So I'm gonna give it a shot.
So obviously we're gonna talk about Metroid Prime 4, which dominated my past weekend here. Played that basically every moment I had the opportunity to. But the other thing I wanted to touch on, I briefly started the Pokemon Legends Mega Dimension DLC last night. I don't think I can give real impressions on it yet, but it kind of like what you're saying about Ultimate Sheep Raccoon. I don't know. And you know how high we were on that the base game. So
yeah,
you're not really exploring this hyperspace Lumiose as much. There's small areas. It's timed. I'm hoping, with some more gameplay, it'll click. But right now, having only gone into this hyperspace thing a couple times, like I don't know. It's not really gelling with me yet, but we'll see. Oh
man, that makes me nervous. I totally lied to you last week. You were like, is this something you're going to do? I was like, oh yeah, after the podcast. I went to bed.
Sure. No, that's okay. Yeah, so that is brand new. You're starting to see a lot of the new megas and things leak online. Not leak, but people are posting about them, and so that's gonna get out there. But we'll talk a little bit about that game and things coming to that game in a little bit. But let's knock out some housekeeping before we get to the news here. Podcasting with Power is an independent podcast made by the two of us, and your support goes a long way. You can watch PWP on YouTube and Spotify, or listen on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. Wherever you are, we'd really appreciate if you would follow, like, comment on, or review the show. You can also keep up with us on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and more at Pod with Power. We post show updates, clips, and anything else we think you might find interesting. So check that out and help support the show. Jordan and I have 4 Nintendo news stories for you this week. So let's dive in. Story number 1. Pokemon Legends ZA confirms return of Hoenn starter Megastones. This is by Alana Higgs at Nintendo Life. Trainers around the world will be returning to Lumio City tomorrow, which is already passed, as Pokemon Legends ZA's Mega Dimension DLC drops on the 10th of December. But there's plenty more to look forward to than just new Megas. Some returning Mega Evolutions have also been confirmed, including a headlining trio. Earlier today, alongside the announcement of a new mystery gift Pokemon, which I'll talk about in a second, the Pokemon Company revealed that Sceptile, Blaziken, and Swampert will be getting their Mega Stones very soon. However, similar to the Kalos Trio's stones, the Sceptilite, Blazikenite, and Swampertite stones will be available via the ZA Battle Club's ranked battles, which means you need an Nintendo Switch online subscription to get them. These 3 stones will be available in ranked Season 5 for Sceptile, Season 6 for Swampert, and Season 7 for Blaziken. And you don't need the DLC to get the stones. You will, however, apparently encounter these Pokemon in Mega Dimension. The date for the new seasons hasn't been confirmed yet, but we'll let you know when that happens. But additionally, they are offering a mystery gift Pokemon. Alpha Charizard is a free gift if you punch in the code there in your Pokemon Legends ZA game. And the code for that is B1G0006, which of course 006 is Charizard's number. Big number 6. I like that. So, okay. So we're getting some... All right, we never really talked about we talked about it, but I don't know where we landed on Alpha Pokemon.
Yeah.
Right? So does the idea of getting an Alpha Charizard, does that appeal to you?
So first of all, Swamper Tight. Whoa.
Okay. I know the stones. I have such a hard time reading the names of the stones.
Yeah,
because I just want to say the name of the Pokemon, right?
Blazikenite. That's good. Swamper Tight. The tight ones are wild to me.
Yeah, I know.
Septil. Okay. Anyway, Alpha Charizard. So I've gone. This has very much been a roller coaster for me, the alphas, because I told you, and this is true, that I gravitated towards alphas, having them in my party, because I'm thinking these are the robust ones.
Yeah, definitely.
But their hitbox is also huge.
Yeah, you need to make sure you're building them to be as tanky as possible.
Yeah.
I've noticed I'm really pumping up the defense EVs in those guys. I have a alpha, what's it called, Tyranitar, which is huge, and he's awesome. Like his Earthquake hits fucking everything. It's crazy, but yeah, it's little risk reward.
I feel like I'm like hauling like a fucking pine tree around sometimes. Like when I'm trying to get them out of the way of the attacks, you're like, move, and they're so big, like you can't possibly evade anything.
I hate how much they get stuck on when you're like on the scaffolding and try to get one of those things, and they're just trying to follow you, and they get stuck on every little thing.
Yeah.
But okay, so we've got the free Mega Charizard for those of you out there that want that. How about the Hoenn, the Ruby and Sapphire starters? We're getting more Mega Stones. We're getting them in the ranked battle like we got the other ones. I think it's a good way to keep that going. Carrot on the stick, because I want these. I'm gonna want those stones. Not necessarily my favorite Pokemon. Blaziken is a fan favorite. I know that. But yeah, I think this is neat, at least.
Yeah, no, it's neat. It seems like a lot of people are bummed out about things being locked behind multiplayer, but it's like it hardly requires a huge lift,
Yeah, again, I know I talked about it in the last season, but this most recent Chestnut season, like I did it in 2 matches. Like, so it's not too bad. Let's jump to story number 2. Confirmed. Leon S. Kennedy is in Resident Evil Requiem. PlayStation Store leak reveals. This is by Tom Phillips at IGN. At long last, Leon S. Kennedy has been confirmed to appear in Resident Evil Requiem via a leaked image on the PlayStation Store. The reveal of new cover art for the game featuring Leon finally puts to bed one of the year's biggest gaming mysteries, something developer Capcom has itself refused to address just days ahead of Requiem's appearance at the Game Awards. Presumably, we'll see Leon announced officially there, which will have happened by the time this comes out, but
I know.
We're excited. This morning, Resident Evil fans began spotting the new cover art appearing on PlayStation 5 consoles in the pre-download screen for owners of the standard, non-deluxe version of the game. IGN has now verified this themselves and can confirm that the image is legitimate. Leon is real. The game's cover shows a stubbled and haggard-looking Leon looming over Requiem's other main protagonist, Grace Ashcroft. In his appearance, Leon looks most similar to his iconic look from Resident Evil 4, his floppy hair set off by a snazzy leather jacket, its collar lined with fur. Rumors have persisted for months over Leon's involvement in Resident Evil Requiem, with Capcom specifically declining to answer IGN's questions over the character back at Gamescom in August. The game's developer has even suggested that Leon would be a poor fit as a protagonist for the game's quieter sections, as he is now too grizzled to be scared. But through all this, Capcom left itself with just enough wiggle room for Leon to be still lurking somewhere, presumably during Requiem's more action-packed sequences.
Yes.
And the story kind of goes on about the saga of them hiding this information, but there it is. One of my favorite Resident Evil protagonists is gonna at least be in the game. I don't know if this necessarily confirms that he's playable.
Yeah,
but he's definitely on that cover art.
I hope he's not. I hope he's just like a strong presence in the game. I think that would be more impactful and
that's
allow
where
for.
I'm leaning to.
You what?
I'm leaning the same way, I think.
Yeah, okay. I mean, but man, he's looking rough. It looks like he might be in a bowling league. Like he's seen some stuff. You know what I mean? Like I like this.
He's seen some stuff.
He has seen some stuff.
This will be his fourth outing in a Resident Evil game. So
I think like him and Isaac Clarke could have trophies. I think
sure.
Like my goodness.
I mean, like Leon was done in Resident Evil 4. He was a cop for a day in Resident Evil 2. That went poorly. And then in Resident Evil 4, he's pissed off. He doesn't want to be there. We're not going to talk about 6. And now here he is.
I'm so excited, man. I haven't been this is probably like pretty peak Resident Evil excitement that I've had probably since Biohazard, honestly.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty stoked. I cannot wait for February.
Yeah, I mean, I was stoked before this was confirmed anyway, but I
Yeah.
do think this adds to it. You know,
Oh yeah.
it's definitely gonna tie Grace and the rest of the story to kind of the greater Resident Evil universe, which is neat.
This might make the I might have to put in PTO to play this.
Yeah. There is a little bit here that I didn't read. This last paragraph of the story. I'll do it here. Despite Leon's involvement now being confirmed, Requiem still has plenty of secrets left in store. Earlier this week, a GameStop listing referenced yet another unrevealed character, Rosemary Winters, who fans have suggested will play a more minor role. Now, obviously, as a fan of Biohazard and Village, I'm sure that Winters' last name is ringing a bell.
Yeah, we
who is
collected her,
Rosemary,
man.
and why should I care about this?
We collected her.
What?
We collected her, Rose. We brought her together, man. We had her in pieces, dude. We had to put her
What was
back
wrong with
together.
her? Why? Why?
Because the witch, man.
The witch.
The witch, dude. No, it wasn't witch. Vampires. No, did you play Village?
No.
Yeah, you collect Rose's like fucking legs and arms and shit.
Okay.
Because she's special. She's very special. I don't know if anything. I wonder what they're gonna tie in from the story. But no, you were rescuing her. That was the whole point of Village, like because she was taken. And you wanted to, get your daughter back.
All right. Well, that makes some sense. I know Ethan Winters is the protagonist of those games. So
yeah, but the thing is, they did like a prequel, or not a prequel. Oh my god. They did kind of like a small sequel where you played as Rose when she was a little bit older.
Okay.
I don't remember what it was called. So like, I wonder, this makes me want to kind of check that out because I wonder if this will tie into that at all or in any way. I don't know.
Yeah, I do think this maybe sheds a little light. We talked about how weird it was that they were releasing 7 and 8 on the Switch the same day as 9.
Yeah.
And maybe this kind of explains why, if it's going to be relevant to the story. Story number 3. Pikmin 4 fans hoping for Switch 2 upgrade after odd listings spotted on the eShop. This is by Liam Doolin at Nintendo Life. Pikmin 4 received a free update in November adding new content, but it wasn't a Switch 2 upgrade and didn't include any enhancements for the game on the new hybrid platform. With this in mind, the same Switch title has now reportedly popped up in a section on the eShop, which focuses on first-party Nintendo, quote, games with free updates, and also notes how select titles are enhanced when played on the Switch 2. This discovery was originally shared on the Pikmin subreddit. As you can see, which I'll have to put on screen, the game featured alongside Pikmin 4 is The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, which did receive a free Switch 2 upgrade in June, optimizing the game's visuals and adding HDR support. We've taken a look at the page, and it appears Pikmin 4 has now been removed from the section. The other titles listed here are based on the 12 free upgrades released alongside the launch of the Switch 2, and Splatoon 3, which also got a Switch 2 update in June. So what might this all mean? As mentioned in the post above, it could just be a mistake on Nintendo's end, so it's probably best not to get too excited. And now that it's been removed, it seems this might be the case. Of course, that hasn't stopped Pikmin 4 enthusiasts from getting their hopes up, suggesting it could be a sign of a future update. So I feel like we're dancing around it. I've said from the beginning, I feel like Pikmin 4 is ripe for some sort of Switch 2 edition, free update, something. We got a relatively substantial content update not too long ago. Is this just another clue, or do you think the dream is dead?
I think it's another clue. I think this is like, I feel like Nintendo does this from time to time, and they'll just, I feel like everyone's like, oh, they're so bad at covering it up. No, I think this is very intentional. I think they do this stuff. I feel like this is a ploy.
Yeah, I think given how technical this kind of update would be, I could see how maybe the plan was to put all that stuff out at once, and it just, for whatever reason, they found some bug and had to hold that part back, and maybe we'll get that later. This does seem to indicate to me, though, that it will just be a free update and not a separate $10 Switch 2 upgrade or something.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for that. Story number 4. Nintendo Classic updates for N64 and GameCube libraries. This is by me at Podcasting with Power. This week saw Nintendo squeak in 3 more Nintendo Classics right before year's end. Rayman 2, The Great Escape, and Tonic Trouble, 2 3D platformers from Ubisoft, will join the N64 library on December 17th. Not to be outdone, Wario World has shadow dropped in the GameCube app and is available for download right now. 2003's Wario World is another 3D platformer featuring the titular anti-hero as he collects his stolen treasure from the evil Black Jewel. All 3 titles in their respective console libraries are available as a benefit of the Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack subscription, with GameCube titles exclusive to Switch 2 users. Now, why would I be telling you all of this? I don't always highlight NSO releases, but with the addition of Rayman 2, we can lend even more credibility to the blurry N64 leak we have mentioned a few times now on this podcast. For those that don't remember, ex-user Imikuni VT pointed out back in July that Nintendo may have accidentally leaked some of their upcoming re-releases in an NSO update video they put out in May. Following Forsaken 64 joining the service in September, Rayman 2 is now the second domino to fall. The remaining games from the original blurry image are as follows: Glover, which does have a standalone release on the eShop, the original Super Smash Bros., and Donkey Kong 64. Okay, so here we go. We've got another one of these titles. I love this stupid leak. What do you think?
Dude, yes. Like 100%. I don't know. I feel like it would be wild for Nintendo to have done that and then not release the games that we saw. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
That leak felt very real to me. It's just a matter of time until we see these other games. Glover is funny though. I mean, every time we bring this up, we always mention that, but like it is like hilarious. I'm just waiting for Donkey Kong 64, man.
So am I. Don't you think it's interesting that of those 5 games, 2 of them are first party games, and those 2 are still on the table as well as Glover. Yeah, I think that's odd that we're getting these third party games and Tonic Trouble, which was nowhere to be seen, but now here he is. You know, whatever the hell that game is.
Yeah, right.
So I was looking into it. That game came out from Ubisoft as well, the same year as Rayman 2. It just seemed like it was overshadowed by that game in every way. Like Ubisoft just was like, yeah, put them both out, see what happens.
Rayman 2, what a weird pick. I don't know.
It's one of those that people always talk about, though. Whenever you talk about like the best 2D platformers, I've never played it. It's been on every platform you can think of. I think this is finally the time.
So Rayman 2 is actually one of Amanda's childhood games.
Okay.
So when I tell her this, she's going to be stoked. Like,
sure.
She's like, is that the ship one with the ship? I'm like, it's the one with the ship.
Okay.
Yeah. And she's going to
very cool.
So,
and then, Wario World is a game we don't talk about enough.
No, yeah.
I've only played that at a demo kiosk. Remember those? Where the TV would be way up high and you're a little kid, so it feels like it's like 20 feet above you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I played Wario World at one of those back in the day. And I don't know. From what I understand, it's not a very long game, so it might be fun to...
Maybe. I think it's funny that our Wario World experience is the same. That's also my experience. Like only...
Well, I wasn't asking for Wario World. No. Now I think I have a better appreciation for Wario than I did back then.
Well, dude, back then I didn't know who he was. I was like, who is this yellow man? I don't know who this is.
I did have Wario Land 3 on the Game Boy, but it didn't translate, I guess. I didn't like it well enough.
I was late to the Wario party, personally. So,
although again, I think now as an adult, I think Wario Land 3 is like one of the best Game Boy Color games. So here we are. Okay, out this week. Not too many, but we've got The Rogue Prince of Persia for both Switch 1 and 2. I am stoked about this. On December 16th. We also have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate on the Switch 2. Also December 16th. System Shock for the Switch 1 and 2 on December 18th. A-Train All Aboard Tourism on the Switch 2, December 18th. And then Cast and Chill for the Switch 2 on December 18th. That is a fishing game, in case you're curious what Cast and Chill is.
Cast and Chill.
Any highlights for you? I mean, you've literally highlighted A-Train, so are you going to be picking up that tourism game?
What is going on here? What is this? This is wild to me. Okay.
I imagine you are just conducting trains.
There's like anime girls and stuff in here.
I didn't know about that, but okay.
Yeah, there's some dialogue going on. Such odd games, dude. Like such weird games,
Do you know how many I don't put on here?
Wait, hold on. You chose A Train All Aboard and Cast and Chill. How did the others get weird?
Okay, so I'll level with you. So I do. We talk about Nintendo Life and their stories here. I think they do great work over there. We bring them up a lot in the podcast, and I use their coming soon calendar to help populate this list every week. And there are a lot of games coming out for the Switch all of the time. You know that, you've been on the eShop. But basically, if the game has cover art on their calendar, I know it's probably a little higher caliber than some of the stuff that comes out there. And so, yeah, some of the stuff is the Rogue Prince of Persia, and some of the stuff is A Train All Aboard Tourism. So I don't necessarily know. I can't play everything. I think these first three are mainstream games that people will play. And then you're right. The last two, probably to a lesser extent.
Okay.
I'm sure there's someone out there, though, that heard me mention a train game and then heard you mention Anime Girls and is now stoked. That combination of person exists 100%.
There's like some grandmother somewhere who's like, "Oh, Elliot will love the game A Train All Aboard. He loves trains and Anime Girls.
He's gonna love it." So okay, let's jump to our main topic for this week, which is going to be, we've got two, I guess, but it's a very Metroid centric week here. Yes. So to start off, though, I'm gonna hand the reins to you.
Okay,
we want to talk some Metroid Prime 4, so you were going to guide us through this.
Yes, let's do it. So I played Metroid. No, I'm just kidding.
I would be shocked if you were like, here's my experience.
I was like, what if but then I'm thinking like I have to be invisible for a whole week. It's a whole operation because you couldn't see me playing it.
Sure.
But no, yeah. So we've talked a lot about Metroid Prime. I'm pretty familiar with Metroid Prime as a series, but there's no doubt among the two of us, you are the bigger fan. And also, I mean, it's one of your favorite titles out there.
Yeah, it's up there with Zelda. Up there. I mean, I love Zelda as well, but yeah.
Yeah. So with that being said, I felt like with that having come out and you spent quite a bit of time with it, it's a game that, to be honest, like I'm interested in, but like I'm really on the fence. I don't know if it's something I'd be really dying to play, and I'm curious what you thought of it. So I put together a pretty substantial list of questions, and I'd like to interview you a little bit, kind of see what your experience was like with the game.
Okay.
And maybe by the end of it, based on what you have to say, maybe I'll give it a shot. We'll see.
All right, I'll try to tell it. No, I'll be very honest about my experience.
Good.
Because there's like ups and downs. It's high highs and low lows in this game.
Okay, peaks and valleys.
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
Some ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
All right. So with that being said, you want to dive right in?
Let's do it. I'm excited for this because this is the first review style thing we've done on this show where only one of us have played it. So I like the idea that, you're going to kind of drive it and ask questions that hopefully people out there are asking.
Okay. Well, first of all, before we dive in, how far in the game, how far are you?
I have completed the game.
You have completed it. Okay.
Yeah. So the way that you kind of judge how you do in these games is how fast you do it. So Metroid games are obviously big in the speedrun community. I wasn't trying to do that, but so I beat the game in 14 hours and 48 minutes.
Ooh, okay.
Wow. Then the other thing is how complete you are at collecting the different items and upgrades and things like that. So I got 96% of the scans. I missed some that are missable. You can't go back to. Really drove me crazy for a while until I finally looked them up and realized, I can't go back to that. So 96%, and then I got 100% of the items, all the missile upgrades and all that stuff. Yeah. So I played this very thoroughly.
Okay. Well, then that should make this much more fun and interesting.
Yeah.
But just for everybody listening out there, I wanted to get a good understanding of, what we got out of the game.
Yeah. So and I unlocked hard mode by completing it. So now I can go back and do that if I wanted to. And I kind of do.
Well, that tells me a lot already.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's good. So I broke this out into a couple of different themes. There is quite a bit here. So, we'll see how we do. And, you might answer some of my questions and others. So,
okay.
The first piece is going to be warm up and first impressions. The second, visuals, atmosphere, and tone.
Okay.
The third, we're going to talk about story and world building.
Oh, I like that.
Number 4, gameplay mechanics and suit abilities.
Okay.
Number 5, controls, movement, and quality of life.
Like that.
6, exploration and level design. 7, music and sound design.
Okay.
8, legacy and comparison to the other games from the series. And then number 9, finally, to wrap it up, we're going to go on your personal take on a couple of the things.
Okay. I love that. That's
All
a
right.
great roadmap for us.
All right. Well, let's dive right in, shall we?
Okay. All right.
All right. So just to open it up, what was your gut reaction the moment that you started the game up?
I think, so like leading up to it, it was very special. I stayed up to midnight for it to unlock.
All right.
I played about probably an hour that first night when it came out. So I opened it up and it was great. Metroid Prime games have really, this is going to sound so stupid, they have really good title screens and the music and all that, right? Like they're, especially that first one, it's very iconic. So I will say that I think this game does live up in that way. It's got some cool, trippy little animation to start you off, and yeah, the music hits and it's solid. And then yeah, right away it asks you, do you want to play in quality mode or performance mode? And I went with quality. I did try performance a little later on, but I played most of this game quality and a mix of docked and hybrid. I'm sure we'll talk about that, but
okay.
I definitely tried this game in every way that I could. But yeah, the opening to this game is very epic. I think I would say that the 3 previous Prime games have pretty good openings, but this is probably up there with the original.
Okay, that's pretty big.
Which I have always thought is the best of the original trilogy. So yeah, I think this is up there. It's very epic. Looks beautiful. It sets the tone.
Nice. Okay, so the first reaction feeling was you were impressed. You felt good. Title screen was great. That music was good. Lived up to everything you were hoping for.
Yeah, and I know we're going to talk about controls, but that too, like that just felt right off the get go, and yeah, so it was great experience right off the bat.
Awesome. Okay. The second thing I wanted to know, which you kind of already mentioned, but we'll dig into a little bit more, is as we kind of roll through this stuff, how much of it did you play handheld and how much of it did you play docked?
I don't know exact numbers for you, but I bet it was probably half and half.
Okay.
Like I said, I played this pretty much every opportunity I had this past weekend, which meant that I was taking the Switch upstairs and sitting on the couch with Collie, and she's been playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider on our Xbox up there. So we've kind of done our dual gaming sessions up there. So
love that.
I would kind of make sure that I would bring it down and dock it for like boss battles and things like that. I did a couple boss battles handheld though, and that was fine.
You shuffled on. Were you like going down the stairs like boss battle?
Well, you can pause it, but yeah.
Oh God, I love that. Okay, so immediately we kind of got your first impression on the title screen, things like that. Did anything kind of stand out to you as different from the start? Like, let's say first 10 minutes. Did anything kind of strike you as interesting? Like you're like, oh, okay, this is different.
So one of the things surrounding this game has been the NPCs, and the opening has a lot of them, not necessarily the ones you'll interact with throughout the game, but there are a lot of people running around and things going on, a lot of dialogue.
Okay. Lived in.
What was that?
So pretty like lived in, like the atmosphere?
Oh yeah. Felt like an actual, you were in the middle of a war zone and people are dying and need help, and yeah,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I thought the performances were, and I feel its way throughout the game, I think it's all very well done. I think the motion capture on the faces and the movement, it's all good. I think the vocal performances are great. And Metroid Prime 3 had a lot of dialogue in it as well, but this stands out in a way that it feels a lot more natural and modern. And so I do think that stands out. I think if you're someone who hasn't touched Metroid or Metroid Prime in a long time, the controls are going to feel different to you.
Okay.
It is a true twin stick. It's not a shooter like that, but it's a twin stick control scheme, which they nailed with Metroid Prime Remastered. But before that, the game wasn't that. So if you haven't played that re-release, this control scheme is going to feel very different to you. But yeah, those are probably the two main things.
Okay. And we're kind of this, I think that carries us really nicely into visuals, atmosphere, and tone.
Sure.
So when you're talking about, it feels very much like a war zone, it feels lived in, like there's a world around you. You feel like everything just kind of works out. Everything kind of plays in.
Yeah.
Metroid games are always obviously pretty big with atmosphere and how they kind of create the environment. How does this one kind of establish the mood out of the gate? So did you immediately kind of feel like you stepped into like the world, or did it take some time to get there? How was it out of the gate?
Yeah. So right off the bat, I mean, and this is coming from, someone who has a lot of experience with the series, like you are Silex, who is one of the bounty hunters and Metroid Prime hunters on the DS, is the primary antagonist, I guess, in this game. And he's stolen a Metroid and he's possessing things and he's running the space pirates now. All of things we're all familiar with. And he's attacking this base. The Galactic Federation is there defending it. So immediately you're surrounded by things you're familiar with. You see Samus's ship fly in, that. So it all feels very familiar in that way. Okay. And that's very much how the opening is. And then eventually, and I want to say I don't want to spoil too much as we go. Sure. But eventually, obviously, you will end up on Vuros, the planet that this game mostly takes place on. And that is a very different experience. And that's where you start to feel like you are alone and there's wild animals out there ready to eat you. And you don't really know what's behind each individual door you come across.
I actually really like that because somewhere where I was going to go next is like, did they lean more into that familiar, like their roots in terms of visuals and like experience before they kind of launched something new, if they did? And it very much sounds like they do start you off with something that's kind of familiar before you go into that new space.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I like that. As far as like the art direction compared to titles from the past, and even like, let's just say Metroid in general, I know Dread was its own thing, but like obviously a different gameplay there, but like how did the art style kind of differ?
So I think this game has a pretty distinct art style while still feeling true to Metroid Prime. Like it's definitely its own thing. Everything's a vulva. Every door, it's a little strange. You feel like guilty looking at it sometimes. But all the architecture, hallways, it really, once you realize it, it's right there in your face. But it does feel true to Metroid, and it's very well done, and I think it's cohesive. Each of the different biomes have their own thing going on, and I can't wait to talk about the level design. But they do feel distinct, and I love that like it all feels like one cohesive world. But every the ice area is the way it is, and the volcano is so they do a really good job of just kind of nailing the vibe and making it feel otherworldly. In a way that even compared to other Metroid games, it feels like it takes place somewhere else.
Nice. Yeah. I like that. I mean, because anytime you get a game like this, that's kind of a big deal for one of the two of us. Yeah. And it has a pretty high bar. You're hoping for a refreshed kind of new experience. So it's always kind of a bummer, like if it doesn't satisfy in that way. So it sounds like this does, which I like. That's good. That's good. This kind of moves us into story and world building pretty nicely too. And I've been dying to ask you this very specifically because this next piece is really important to me, especially on a game like in the Metroid series, because again, it's not one of my most bread and butter. But did you find yourself hooked pretty quickly, or was it kind of a slow burn?
No, I do feel like I was hooked right away. The way the game is structured, obviously people have seen the desert, Soul Valley, and the motorcycle Viola in the trailers and things like that. People are aware of that. But that does come later. The game lets you settle in before it throws that at you. So you have the opening, and then you kind of have the first main area, which feels very traditional Metroid Prime. And so I did. I felt right away at home, right? Like the everything works the way you want it to. The save stations and the doors and just the map, like So I definitely felt it right away, and you kind of you'll realize like, okay, I'm gonna go through that door, and I bet I'm gonna come out that way, and like so you're already kind of piecing it together as things happen.
Okay. In terms of story goes, though, did you feel like it was something that you were interested in from the beginning, or did they have to kind of hook you at some point?
No, yeah, when you first get to View Roast, you kind of get a crash course in what their deal is, and
Sure.
You are immediately. I'm trying to think of at that point.
I know we got to be tricky about this, obviously.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think of like what people know about and what they don't, and so like
sure
the psychic powers and the way that kind of affects things in the game. You are kind of educated on that very quickly. So you kind of know that's going to be a driving force when it comes to power ups and things like that. Which right there is interesting because I want to see where that goes and how that changes things that I'm used to. And it does. I think they make use of the psychic stuff very well.
Okay.
We'll talk about power ups, but like I think every power up that you're used to has a psychic twist in this game, which is new and lets you use it in a different way, and that's cool. In addition to the way you're used to, so it just kind of feels like it's adding to your tool set.
Okay, and I actually have a question about that very specifically in the next part.
Okay.
So we'll definitely dive into that. Now, obviously, and I don't I won't keep saying this, but like leaving out spoilers, obviously for anybody listening. What was it that kept you wanting to advance in the story? Not necessarily, I'm not saying like tell me what part of the story kept you wanting to keep playing, but like you were mentioning abilities and power-ups and things like that. What kind of what was it that kind of motivated you to keep playing? Maybe on the nights where you wanted to put it down. What kept you playing?
Sure. So okay, so there's a couple things. So one, the world design is interesting in such a way that you do just kind of want to go from, you want to see what's next and you want to see kind of what lies deeper. But I'll use this as an opportunity to, we'll address one of the elephants in the room here, which of course is the NPCs and Miles McKenzie, who, we know from the trailers and the previews and stuff, does appear fairly early on. And so I wanted to get to him. I wanted to see what that was all about. And the game lets you do that fairly quickly.
Okay.
And once I had that, it wasn't a bad experience. His character is meant to be annoying and overbearing, but like not in a way that I felt annoyed as a player. It's just kind of entertaining. And so yeah, I very much wanted to see like, okay, like how are they gonna use him either to, maybe give exposition, or is he gonna do something in the gameplay? And so I was interested in that. And then just as quickly, the game lets you do your own thing. And so that was nice to then kind of be like, okay, he's gonna hang out and I'm gonna explore a little further. And it's just that sense of exploration of like, I just want to see what's next.
Okay.
It's a very long-winded way to say that I just want to see what's next. Sorry.
I feel like that's been a Nintendo thing now for a little while. I feel like they've really expanded on the exploration piece and making that kind of like a carrot on the stick type thing for the games.
Yeah.
Zelda being a big one, obviously.
Yeah.
But exploration, I feel like that's been Nintendo's theme now for a couple of years. Which we love. It's doing well, Like
yeah,
we like
and
that.
you can see specifically like the Zelda influence here with the desert and the bike, and there are kind of shrine like areas. There are only 6 of them. Yeah. And the rewards are worth it. They're great. That in and of themselves, I wish there were more. And I guess, yeah, Soul Valley is a pain point for me. Probably the biggest pain point in the game. It to me should have probably just been it should have just been a cutscene. When I am leaving an area, like maybe that is the way Samus gets from here to there. And I don't necessarily need to play it. It feels very antiquated. It feels like the Great Sea.
Oh,
in
man.
that it's, there is stuff on it and you're gonna, find stuff and there's enemies, but once you've seen all the enemies, I'm kind of over it. They're just annoying.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like I know exactly where I need to go because it's a Metroid game, so you are backtracking. And I know I have to go to the other side of the map, and I know that is going to take however long that's going to take. And it'd be nice if I could just fast travel to it, or so I think when you're in the actual biomes and the kind of traditional Metroid areas, the game sings. And then when you are in that open, desert, it wants to be Breath of the Wild so bad.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. I just wish that part wasn't even playable.
I think explaining it like the Great Sea is a perfect way to explain that. Like because I'm looking at pictures of it, obviously me who's never played the game. Now that I'm looking at it and you say it like that, I know exactly what to expect. Like that makes perfect sense.
If it was the size of like Hyrule Field and Ocarina of Time, that'd be great. If I could just get places, quickly, that'd be awesome. But it's too big for how sparse it is.
Yeah. And like, while that's a downside, to be honest with you, though, it's a little bit relieving because when I think about Wind Waker in comparison to that, analogy, like the Great Sea, it was pretty bleak. There's things here and there, but like, what a great game outside of that, So if this game, if we have such high things to say about this game outside of Soul Valley, like maybe there's more to bring to the table here because they showed so much of this before the game came out that I thought looking in, like, I was like, this is bleak,
Yeah, like there are points of interest and there are, things to find. And like I said, the shrine areas are a high point. There's a little kind of, it's required, but it's kind of a side quest later on that takes place mostly out there. Like there's some cool stuff, but it's probably my least favorite part of the game.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the last piece of this story and world building is how does the game expand Samus's lore? Like, do you learn anything new about the character? Obviously, without spoilers. Is there anything like? Is there more to her story? Like, what do we have? Do you learn more things with Samus? I guess.
So, there's maybe one thing towards the end that I won't get into because it is spoilery. But I think by and large, this game does not really do a lot to expand Samus. So Samus, the characters around you speak. Samus does not. And it's not even like a Pokemon thing where like characters will just kind of react as if you did respond to them. It's like they'll be like, where do I go? And Samus just like just kind of like points and or nods and like and I mean it works like for the most part. It just sometimes it feels a little awkward. Like I think what we've talked about will happen with the Zelda movie if they don't have Link talk. You can do it, but there are going to be points where you're just like, just let him say something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think, and it's not a bad thing. I don't think it does any damage to Samus as a character or kind of how badass she is. But it's not. You're not learning about the Chozo who raised her, and you're not. It's not stuff like that. The Metroid Prime games take place in a weird little pocket of the Metroid timeline. So all four of them take place between Metroid 2 and Super.
Okay.
So, whereas like Metroid Dread is like the end of the timeline. That's technically Metroid 5. So like we're just kind of in this weird little, and like they probably can't add a ton to her, because we've got Super and Fusion and Dread. So but that said, I do feel like the world building they do on Vuros and the Lemorn, who are the native species there, who's gone but has left stuff, that is very reminiscent of the Chozo. There's you're seeing kind of the artifacts and what they left behind and how they're influencing things, and that's all cool. As well as the Galactic Federation stuff, because you are interacting with other people that have been stranded on this planet, and kind of you get their dynamic and their background and kind of an idea of how that structure all works, and that's cool.
Okay, not so much Samus, but you still get a lot of development within the world around.
Definitely, I do think world building is a highlight of this game for me. Yeah, right. It's not centered around her.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next place we're going: gameplay, mechanics, and suit abilities.
Okay.
So I know you had already mentioned that the returning mechanics all have kind of a psychic twist.
Yeah.
What new or returning abilities changed the way how you played the game?
Okay. So, for the most part, the combat's never been the main focus of these games, but it's certainly there, and it feels better than ever now. There's a new mechanic. So you've always had your power beam and your missiles, right? And they've added, and missiles use its own ammo and all that, where your power beam's unlimited. They've added another kind of ammo thing called like shot ammo.
Okay.
And so right on the D-pad is your missile. But then you've also got, as you progress through the game, you're going to get these elemental shots, ice, fire, and electricity. And they all affect things differently. They affect the world, in different ways. They're a puzzle solving thing. But they also affect different kinds of enemies differently. Machines are more vulnerable to the electric one and stuff like that. So they kind of all have their own mechanics. And I found myself as I went on, using those things more and more and kind of piecing together like what's going to work best for this scenario. I will say one of the bummers, it's kind of a neutral thing. I don't think it's a con of this game, but there really aren't any like truly new abilities.
Oh,
it is, like I said, it's riffs on stuff you're used to. The psychic power bomb is cool. It's, you can drop the little bomb, but now if you hold the button, you'll make a little psychic bomb. And when you go out of the morph ball, you can manipulate that and throw it at things. And, so if there's a bomb slot that's out of reach, I can put it up there and let it explode. And so it changes the puzzle solving and gives you more abilities. I, found out you can throw those bombs at enemies, and that's nice. But yeah, it's nothing truly new.
Okay. And so I'm trying to place myself into this. So
yeah,
does that disappoint you that there's not new abilities, or are you kind of that's the staple? I like that it hasn't changed. What would you have liked to have seen when it comes to that stuff?
It certainly didn't bother me. I never felt bored with the abilities because, they do have some new changes. And then by the end of the game, I was kind of like, okay, I'm waiting for this one and I'm waiting for this one. One of which is not in the game, which I was a little shocked. One of the key ones.
Oh, man.
For Metroid, it's okay. I don't really know how it would fit.
Is that a spoiler if you say what it is?
I mean, I guess not. It's not in the game. So there's no screw attack in this game, which is one of Samus's key things, right?
Yeah.
And has been in other Prime games. So
oh man,
there's no screw attack, and I was waiting on that one. It's okay. There are other things that kind of maybe fill that void, and at least with the exploration and the movement. But yeah, as I was playing it, I really didn't think about it. It was when I was reflecting at the end, and I was like, oh, I guess all these are we've kind of done all of these before, at least in some way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that they're bad. It's just something, the more new stuff could have been cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. You never really know where to go with that, because there are some games where I'm like, don't you dare touch this. I want it to be kind of what I expected. And then there are times where I'm like, I would like to see something new. So
yeah,
you never really
it's
know
like if a Zelda game just had, the bow and the hook shot and the boomerang and bombs. And it's like, yeah, that's fine. That's cool. But where are the mole mitts,
Yeah.
I want some mole mitts.
Where are my mole mitts?
Right.
So you mentioned the scanning system and having, I can't remember what you had said, but ones you can't miss. If you miss them, you can't get them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember scanning in the old games.
Yep.
And I remember kind of what that did. Firstly, before you answer the question, which is, how did you like that system in this game? But before you answer that, though, could you explain to me if it's any different than it was in the past games? Because I'm not sure.
So it is largely the same. When you start out, it's you switch to your scan visor, which is on a face button now, and you do the thing, and it gives you a little bit of information. Once you get the psychic abilities, that does change. I think it's a fun little change. Mechanically, it's the same, but now she puts her little hand up, and you see a little circle fill up, and she's just kind of like reading it with her mind, which is, you know, just a fun little thing that it does. And yeah, it's otherwise exactly the same. It gives you some information. There are lore details. You're gonna find like logs that people have left behind that way. You're gonna activate
like other players or people like in the game, other people in the game.
In the game, yeah. So okay. Like, you know how when you're in like a Resident Evil, you'll find all these journals. It's like, we experimented on this thing, but it'll never get out. And then the next one's like, it got out. Like, it's like that. Yeah. And like, you got those, and those are fun. But yeah, largely it's the same. But it's a nice little way to get more lore out of basically everything in the game if you want to.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We like that. You know what I'd love to see is you just reminded me of it, because I was asking you, was it other players? Remember when they added the like the tingle notes in the man, I love that. Like I would love to see something else like that. Okay. How do you feel about the fact that like there are some that you cannot go back to? Did you like that existed? Did it give you some kind of like had you gotten them, you'd be like, yes, boom, I got it, accomplished. Like, do you feel like you need to go back now and get them?
So I am annoyed that I didn't get them, right? But that's the game, and I get it, and they've all had that. So it's not like this one, conned me out of it. When I looked up what one of them was, I was really annoyed so usually with these, like a boss, for example, once I kill this thing, it's going to be gone. I'm not going to be able to scan it.
Yeah.
So I know that you scan a boss right away. If it has another form, you scan that too. This one in question, there was a part of him, and I scanned that. I got that. But then apparently he has a specific projectile that also is scannable, and I didn't realize that. So now I'm done with that, and that is what it is. And another one was another thing that was associated with a boss that I couldn't go back and get. So now I know if I do play it on hard mode again, I will I will 100% it. All it really does is get me some extra. This game has a gallery, right, on the main menu. And so as you do different things, when you get 50% of the scans, 50% of the items, 100%, all that stuff, you unlock different concept art and things like that. So I have most of them, but yeah, there are a couple that are stuck behind that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know you had mentioned earlier, Metroid, obviously it's not a series that is known for its combat by any means, but there is combat in it. Yeah. Did you notice, was the combat in this in 4 heavier or faster, or what was it like compared to the other entries in the series?
Yeah, I would say it's probably a little faster and a little less forgiving than the other ones. I think they know, like, okay, like this is a pretty modern control scheme that's easy to get a grasp of. Like we're gonna ramp it up a little bit. And yeah, I don't think it's revolutionary, but I think it's serviceable, and it, doesn't ever really feel bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. It makes sense what it has.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then lastly, do you have any standout boss fights that you can think of that are worth mentioning? Anything outside the ordinary, maybe?
Yeah. So there's one I really like in the second area. The Vault Forge, which we've seen, which are these crazy like tower factory things that are, in a lightning storm. And I did really enjoy the boss there. I'm trying to think of what his name was. Keratos is later. It's not Keratos. But this guy, he's like, I don't want to give too much away about it, right? But it's kind of one of those mechanics where it's a central thing, and he's protected by all these things, and you gotta figure out how to get those things off of him so you can do the damage, and
So I'm kind of grasping, but like possibly just, is it worth saying maybe the way you get those things off of him to expose them, like that's kind of unique and different? Is that kind of what it is?
I mean, again, not revolutionary. I enjoyed doing it, and I felt like once I got that loop, like it was fun to
I mean, but like I think about some memorable boss battles in games that I've really enjoyed, and I always think of Majora's Mask, Snowhead Temple.
Oh yeah,
Goat,
yep.
if that's how you say it. Never really
I think
known.
so. That's how I would say it.
Yeah. Which makes me think of that weird song somebody I used to know. But anyways,
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know
Goat
why.
DA.
But that boss battle, while it's very simple and makes perfect sense, it's a blast every time. You know?
It is. Yeah.
So it's like when I think about that stuff, it's like, was it very complicated? Or even honestly that thoughtful? Maybe that one with the mechanics, I guess. But like that stuff kind of goes a long way. And whether or not it's something that took a ton of thought, it's not just like a glowing eyeball flower guy. You know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
something else that goes into it. It's just nice to hear like if any newer games kind of put that amount of thought into that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what I
Yeah.
was chasing.
I think the bosses are very Zelda-esque in that way. They
Okay.
have, they make you think. You look at it and you go, well, how the hell am I going to hurt this guy? And then you kind of have to figure it out. And then the phase changes and you have to kind of do it again and figure out what the new loop is. And I think for the most part, I like almost all of the bosses in this game. There is one that I don't care for that I think is just bad and boring. And then I don't know if you're going to ask about this specifically, but I do not like the ending of this game from either a gameplay or a narrative perspective. But we can always save that if you want to.
Hang on to that one, yeah.
Okay.
Hang on to that one.
Yeah,
that's
but most of the bosses are, and most of the combat encounters I think are fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that a lot. I don't know why this popped into my brain. I think it's because it's like the Christmas season and we marathon all the Harry Potter movies every year around this time.
Sure.
I mean, really all year, but more prominently around this time.
Sure.
And I think about when Harry's in the Chamber of Secrets and he climbs up the giant like
face. Salazar Slytherin. Yeah.
And he's intending to gain some height on the serpent here, and then he miraculously pulls the sword of Gryffindor out of the sorting hat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the luck that went into this is insane. Because you're thinking like when you go to these boss battles, and I'm tying this back into the game, like
I hope so.
When you I just want to talk about Harry Potter for a second.
Sure.
No, like you for some reason when I'm watching like a movie like Harry Potter like this, I'm thinking like this to me, I'm watching it. It's a real person. There's just CGI. So I'm like thinking like real world experience. I oftentimes when I'm playing games, I think about that as like a real world experience. I'm like, I know we got to shoot an arrow into this eyeball right here. But like, would this be scary if I was in this instance?
Okay.
And, when I'm playing these games and having a new experience with a new boss, it's fun to kind of put that into perspective and think like, is it creative in that sense? Even though like we're so numb to a new boss fight because you've seen them all, But like if you kind of like zoom out and think about it like that, I'm like, is this a fresh experience? And that's really what I'm going after when I'm looking at these types of questions,
I think for the most part, yes. I do think that. Did you have more questions about kind of the level design and stuff, or have we? We
actually are about to move into level design.
Then fine. I'll save that for when we get there. But I think for the most part, the bosses make sense. They fit the area they're in. The logic for why they are the way they are makes sense. Again, that's all in scans and those logs like that. Yeah, it works thematically.
Nice. All right. So the next piece we're moving into is controls, movement, and quality of life. Following up, that one backs into exploration and level design.
Okay.
So this next bit. So what do you think of the control scheme? And is there anything that you would change?
I think the control scheme is perfect. I think they nailed it with Metroid Prime Remastered. That game feels so good on a Pro Controller with the twin sticks. Like, that original game is a single stick shooter. You have to, you lock onto things and, it's 2002. It's that you got to remember, most of that game was developed concurrently with Halo, which really kind of figured all that stuff out on console. The way we know it today. So they didn't have that luxury when the first Metroid Prime was in development. So you were locking onto stuff and you had the, stationary where you stop, you hit a button and now you can aim and, kind of like GoldenEye. And then I think when with then 3 and then the trilogy coming to Wii, like that modernized the control scheme, but that was all, motion based. We know that doesn't work for everybody. And I just went back to 3, and it can be a little clunky at times. But yeah, Metroid Prime Remastered absolutely nailed the control scheme, the default control scheme, and this game is almost identical. I don't think there's anything I would change. There's nothing that felt weird to do, really at any point.
Do they have like alternates if you wanted to switch to a different one, like different options?
Yeah, and so it doesn't actually use all of the buttons. So even by default, like, those first games and on the Wii, like to shoot was the A button.
Yeah.
And so I can still do that on the Pro Controller, but now the right trigger is also to shoot. Same with like jump is B, and it's the left bumper, I think.
Okay.
So like I used the face button to jump, but I used the trigger to shoot. Like, so you kind of figure out the way that works for you. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How did the game handle pacing?
Ooh, that's a good question. So and I'm sure when we get to kind of the final thoughts, I'll use this word a lot, but inconsistently. Yeah. So there are moments where you are moving from area to area and you feel like you are gradually powering up and finding things and doing that. And then there are times where you are finding a thing and then it's like, all right, come on back and see me and I'll do something with that thing. And it's like, oh, cool. So you want me to drive across the desert for you to upgrade this thing that I just got, and then I'm going to drive either back to where I am or somewhere different. Like, that kind of backtracking obviously is a big part of Metroid. And there are times where this game does that and it works. And then there are times like that specifically. I'll say it. I talked about the different shots and the different, the elemental things. You find those, and rather than just get that weapon, you have to go find Miles and he will add it to your cannon. And then you go back to whatever you were doing. Okay. I don't love that. It just kind of feels like unnecessary padding. I think it is kind of, I understand why they wanted to break things up at that point. They want you to kind of stop and reevaluate what you're doing and where you can go. And I understand that, but it does. It just feels like everything comes crash to a halt.
I hate that because it always feels like it's just like adding minutes to the game when they have you do stuff like that.
And to be fair, it really only does it like 3 times.
Okay.
But yeah, there are some moments beyond that though that do it too. But it's just, I don't know. Yeah, sometimes it really works and sometimes it doesn't.
Man. Well, how did the Switch handle the game? Did you notice any hiccups or anything not game breaking, but like immersion breaking?
This game runs perfectly on the Switch 2 in both handheld mode and docked mode. I had exactly one technical issue the entire time I played. I used a certain late game weapon against a teleporting enemy, and I think I hit him at just the right time, and my frame rate came to a standstill. Like, it was like slow, and then it was just not moving. I was like, the game's gonna crash. Like, and it didn't. It did recover, and it got me back there. And it never happened again, even when I used the same thing and on the same enemy. I never was able to replicate it. But yeah, I had exactly one technical issue very late into the game, probably 10 hours in.
Oh God, that's funny.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, no.
But I mean, this is the best looking game I've played on a Switch. This is,
Oh, really? Best game? Oh, yeah. Best looking?
Yeah. And I know we're going to talk about, graphics and that kind of stuff, but yeah, I mean, it's a technical marvel. It's incredible.
Okay. That does a lot for me. So yeah. I like that. So let's talk about exploration and level design. So the first piece, are there any particular areas that stand out to you the most and why? Okay.
So, not the desert, which, but
was it Soul Valley?
Soul Valley. Yeah. But the other 5 areas of the game, and there are 5 other areas of the game, they are all great. There's one that I was like, we're doing this again. And then I ended up really liking it. It's just, once I saw the name of it, I was like, come on. But it was cool. Yeah, I mean, I think I like the Ice Belt is probably my favorite. Volt Forge is probably a close second, but again, it's hard to pick. They're all five of those biomes are really cool. And one of the things that we touched on at the beginning of this was that they are all they have their own thing going on, their own theme. Volt Forge is a factory, and it has factory things and works that way. And the Ice Belt is like a medical lab, and so they all have things going on, and you're both learning about that just by looking at the environment as you kind of walk through it. You're also scanning things, picking up logs, like I mentioned. And then in most of these cases, you are, turning something on or restoring power and doing, whatever. And that then kind of evolves the location even more. And, so that is all very cool. And like I said, all five are unique and, I think really well designed. They all have a distinct look and feel, and even down to like the save rooms, where like I was like, oh, it's cool that like in the Ice Belt the save rooms look like this, and in this area they look like that. And that said, they are structured similarly.
Okay.
So one of the things about this game is that it's kind of hard to call it a Metroidvania, in that it's not, the world is not interconnected. Every area has one exit to Soul Valley, and that's it. Like the original Metroid Prime, like different things were connected, and you had to go through these caverns to get here, and you had to, go back. And this game is not that. Every, you go to a place, then you come back to the center, and you go to the next place. And it's just, I wish things were a little more interconnected. But even in the biomes themselves, there's a little bit of deviation, but for the most part, it's kind of a straight shot. It's like the generator's there, like, okay, and I'm going to make my way down there, and then I'm going to make my way to whatever that turned on. And, I wish that it was a little more of a maze in the individual biomes than it is.
Yeah.
There are some good instances of it, but for the most part, this is a very linear Metroid game, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Metroid Fusion is a very linear game, and that's one of the good ones. So,
Okay. No, that's interesting. And I mean, it kind of plays into kind of where I'm going with next. But so with the Metroid series, I'm always kind of picturing like a kind of a somber atmosphere, like a little eerie kind of, I guess. Maybe, I don't know if I'd say creepy, but like eerie or lonely. I don't know. Did it kind of capture that same vibe, or did it go after something new?
Yeah, it definitely has that in spades and makes good use of that. But all of the areas except for one do have NPCs in them that you interact with at some point. And like I've talked about, they do a good job of, you get in, you get introduced, they might do something relevant to the game, and then the game lets you be on your own again. And I think it does a really good job of that. Of kind of using those characters as tools, as expositional tools. Okay. But then, after that, kind of letting you figure it out on your own, and you're not so worried about them. The only exception of that being at the end, I got to a point where I was like, I can finish this game out, but I want to find the items and I want to, do all that. And I just kept being interrupted. Anytime I would go to the desert, which I had to do every time I was going somewhere new, I'd get that little interruption, like, hey, come on back and let's do this. And no,
like, shut up.
and then it does the thing where it has the like open map button. And so even if I ignore it, the next time I pause the game, it will do that thing where it opens the map and then it, shows you that. And I'm like, I know where you are. I've been there so many times. I'm good. Yeah.
They gotta do it though. I feel like you can't get away from that though.
They do. I mean, I can understand how they're worried that you're not going to know what to do next.
Yeah.
And honestly, I kind of had the opposite problem. So these Prime games all have a thing at the end where once you've kind of explored everything, got all the power-ups, it has you do like some sort of collection where you go back through the world and you find artifacts or batteries or whatever. And this game has that. And I knew what it was right away because I saw one and I was like, okay. And then as I'm going, I'm kind of finding these things. and I'm making note of it. Like, okay, these are where these are. And then I get to the point and like, I'm like, okay, like that's clearly the next thing. I'm going to have to go find these things that I've been seeing the whole game. And I like couldn't get it to trigger. I was like, I like went to one and nothing. And then I get one of these calls, right? And it's like, we need this thing. And it's like, yeah, I'm trying to do that. Like, how do I do that? And so that took me a little bit of, figuring out and going to different things and characters, and before it let me do the thing that I knew I had to do. That was kind of the only friction point like that, though, that I had.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the like puzzle design? Is it very much what you would
It's too easy. For the most part. I mean, there's definitely a couple of thinkers in there, but yeah, I think compared to probably all 3 of the other Prime games, this is puzzle-wise the easiest.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that's just kind of what we expect now with games? Like, I feel like, I'm not saying every game is just getting easier, but I feel like I'm noticing a trend, or I mean, we've both been talking about noticing a trend of things just becoming more obviously less challenging,
Yeah, I do think it's part of that. I mean, there is that part of me that's like, well, is it just easy because I've done these? Like when I've done so many morph ball puzzles, it's kind of like, okay, I get it. Like, I see the pieces and I put them together, and I don't know how much of that is. I think it's just that the puzzles are easier.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's move into music and sound design.
Okay.
But before I do, though, I know you had a lot to say about level design. Is there anything you wanted to mention that I didn't really call out for you?
No, I think we nailed it. I just wanted to point out that, yeah, like I think the storytelling they do with the environment and the scans, like, do really add character to each spot, and they all kind of have their unique story, and it does make you want to then, seek out more information to kind of figure out what happened there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Music and sound design. How does the soundtrack compare to previous Prime titles?
I mean, I can think of like the main theme, and that is kind of it. There was no point where I felt like the music was like bad or annoying. There were a couple points where I felt like it was lacking. Like I was like, it feels like there should be maybe something more active here. But there are some areas like I like that main theme. Vault Forge, I'm going to go back to. I think the music in there is cool and really sets the stage. But yeah, overall, not a high point for music this game.
Okay.
Whereas I do think of particularly the 2 GameCube games as having really solid music.
Okay. And you kind of already answered my next piece. It sounds like with Vault Forge.
Yeah. Yep.
For standout tracks from the game. And you kind of brought this up too, but I wonder if it can go the opposite way. So you had said that maybe some areas are lacking where they could have given you a little bit more. Does the game use the absence of sound or a dynamic soundtrack to play into any kind of feeling? We've talked in the past. I want to build a little bit on this. Yeah. We've talked about Pokemon did this, ZA, whatever we want to go with. And we talked about in Twilight Princess, like Midna's Lament, like how things kind of changed, or like when you think about Wind Waker and it's like you're stuck in that cycle of nighttime. I use 2 Zelda examples, but you get what I'm saying. Right. Yeah. Does this game kind of do anything with that, or like
a little bit, but not as effectively, I think.
Okay. Was now the absence of sound thing, like was there ever, and the reason I'm kind of doubling down on this one is because with Metroid's feeling, did they ever kind of capitalize on that like unsettling emptiness in any way?
Yeah. I'll go back to the ice belt. I think does a good job of that.
Okay.
Both inside and out of the facility there.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna move into legacy and comparison.
Oh well, I do want to mention the sound design aspect of it.
Yeah.
Excellent. The sounds of everything fit. Like you you feel like Samus's suit has real weight to it. You know, every time you land on the ground and charge the beam, and like it all feels very natural.
Wow. You know, you said something right at the beginning that got me thinking of this. You were saying that everything feels very satisfying. So like, and sometimes that's as little as like pushing start or pushing A to begin the game. Like when you do something, like the reaction you kind of get from the game. So you were saying something I loved. You can feel the weight of everything. Was that just in combat? Did you feel that like, where else did you feel that in the game?
That's in general. That's when you are doing any platforming. When you're in the morph ball, you kind of feel that speed, and you know, when she clanks into something, or you know, it does a really good job of feeling tactile like that.
Some good rumble on the hands.
Yeah, some great rumble in this
some
game.
Great rumble.
Yeah, yeah. It'd be a horrible game without rumble. Really,
you could not,
really makes the experience.
Could not go without rumble.
No, you need rumble in video games, Jordan. That's fucking crazy.
All right. So moving on, where would you rate this with the rest of the Metroid games?
It's funny you should ask that. I made a little list.
Ooh.
Okay. So did you ask, I'm sorry, the Metroid games or the Prime games specifically?
I said just Metroid, but we can go Prime.
Okay. So overall, there are, 15 Metroid releases. I put this at number 7. Okay. So kind of right in the middle. I know people are going to hear that and be like, he hates it. No, I don't. I don't hate it. The 6 above it are just really good.
And this one was not. Okay.
Yeah. So in the context of the Prime games, it's third. I think it's still Metroid Prime 1, and then 2 is close. And then I think you go down a couple notches on the ladder. Then you have 4. And then 3 is right there. 3 is similar to 4 in a lot of ways. Both in structure. I know we talked about kind of how much more linear this one is. The first one is very open and very interconnected. 2 kind of segments things off a little bit, but is still similar to that. Whereas 3 and 4 you are going to levels and you are completing them and then going back to where you came from. So yeah, I mean, it's not one of the greats, definitely. What I put at kind of the top 5 there. But it's not a bad game. Certainly not a bad one.
So when you talk about it being more linear, how do you feel like, for somebody like me who dabbled a little bit, but is pretty unfamiliar, largely, is this a game that I could just jump in and play and still enjoy? Or would I need to have experienced Metroid or even just the other Prime games? Like, how could I experience this game and still have a good time?
Yeah, so we're definitely going to get into it when we do our next half of this Metroid topic, pitching Metroid to you. But yeah, I think Prime 4 is a good entry point for a lot of people, but I think you specifically, because it has that classic Zelda structure to it. Not the Breath of the Wild, not the Tears of the Kingdom. Like it is. Yeah, there's a central hub area that's important, and you don't have to spend a ton of time there if you don't want to, but it's there. But mostly, yeah, the biomes are kind of self-contained, and you go and you do 90% of the stuff the first time you're there, in more so than you would in Metroid Prime 1, where you are constantly going back to different places and finding things. And it's not connected to the original trilogy, the Phase-On trilogy of Metroid Prime games, like at all. There's not really any mention of it that I can think of.
Okay.
It's who Samus is, you're good.
All right.
Yeah.
Now with you having ranked it the way that you did, what small things do you think, or maybe not small, I guess I should say, but what things would you change? What would impact it the most to kind of move it up that ladder for you? What could have been different, do you think?
So, yeah. So like going back to the linearity of it, that's not necessarily what I want out of a Metroid game, out of a Metroidvania game, but that's not to say it's bad. I mentioned earlier that Fusion is very linear, and that's the one I ranked right above Prime 4, because I think it does a good job. Even Dread, which is on the right day my favorite one, is more linear than Super and some of the other ones, right? And the original Prime. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think, like I said, Soul Valley, I think you could scrap that area and the playability of the area altogether. That can just be like, Samus gets Viola, and now that's how she gets from point A to B, but I don't need to play it. It's just I go to whatever station it's at, and I take it and I go. Barring that, it would have been nice if, the biomes were interconnected. So maybe I'm in the ice area and I end up stumbling into the jungle, and then I've, found kind of a shortcut there or something like that. The other way you could have addressed that is fast travel, even if it was just to the entrances of these biomes. That would, and I know fast travel is kind of like a sticking point when it comes to Metroidvanias.
Yeah.
But some of them have it, and you can even put it in its just specific spots, and you even maybe have to go to a spot, like how Hollow Knight works. You have to go to the station, and then you're connected to the other ones you've found. Like, I don't want to just be able to go anywhere.
Right.
But it would be nice if I am on the southwest corner and I want to go to the northeast corner, that I can just take
that trip. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the big thing. It's really that traversal of Soul Valley that I would change.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. That's pretty big.
It is, like I said, it's there and you're going back to it, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like I spend a ton of time there.
Yeah.
Even though I'm sure I did. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm so much more focused on the other areas of the game that, like, that just kind of feels like a means to an end. And I wish that was streamlined.
Now, I have an important question for me specifically, because this isn't one of my interview questions. I was just thinking about this to myself, because there's a difference here. And I think you, as a Zelda, I use Zelda because it's a good reference point for me.
Yeah.
Favorite series. So when you said it's very much like the Great Sea, I really enjoyed the Great Sea, but that was such a perfect comparison. But I'm wondering, do you mean that it's like the Great Sea, or do you mean more like Hyrule Field and Twilight Princess? Because Hyrule Field and Twilight Princess, I didn't enjoy traversing. And like, it had its things. There was the Elden Bridge and a couple of things over there once you get the Dominion Rod. But I didn't enjoy it. I hated traversing Hyrule Field. Like, that ruined the game for me. But Wind Waker, I mostly enjoyed the Great Sea. Like, what do you think between the two? Like, what would you compare it to more likely?
If those are the two ends of the scale, it's definitely more on the Wind Waker side.
Okay.
Twilight Princess, you're right, is pretty barren, and things are few and far between. There are things, but they're not super present. It feels like it's just big for the sake of being big. Maybe even a more apt comparison than the Great Sea is like the sky in Skyward Sword.
Oh,
in that there's a lot of stuff to do in the sky, right? Yeah. But my problem with it is that it's also samey. It's all just, you're looking at the same sky, everything's on a rock, like, and that's kind of what this is. Like,
gotcha.
It's one big desert, and there's areas where there's a bunch of Galactic Federation gear, and that looks like the other one you'll find, and the other, like, whereas Wind Waker, you're right. There's more variety to each island as you come across it, and you got that weird little fish, and like, there's it's not, nothing feels super unique.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's any elements of this game that could influence, like, let's just say for the sake of conversation that we were we thought maybe there'd be another Prime game. Okay. Yeah. I'm not really sure that I'd put my eggs in that basket, but if there were, do you think do you think that this game could add any influence to future titles or Metroid as a whole? Like, is there anything there in that aspect?
Yeah, again, I'll go back to the kind of openness versus the linearity. Like, I understand that Metroid Prime is not going to be a huge commercial seller, because that original game, because it is Super Metroid in 3D, and it's very much, you're going to go back and forth and you're going to look for shit, and you're going to, whereas this is more linear, to the point where sometimes when you're going through the areas, it almost feels like a level in like a Halo, like the Bungie Halo games, right? Which is cool.
Yeah.
And I do think there's more market appeal to that, right? And so I can see them wanting to stick with kind of those, isolated areas, that are more linear, and maybe cutting out this middle openness stuff that we're talking about. I think I can see that. Whether or not there will be I think there will be another Prime from Retro. I do. I think this game kind of points to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. You can never say for sure with this series, but or it'll just randomly reemerge 20 years later. Who knows? But yeah, I think there's a shot for sure. But yeah, I bet I would love to know, because this game famously announced and then restarted a couple years later, and now it's 5 years after that, and we're finally getting it. I would love to know why that happened. What was the original pitch? Why did it not work? Why did they start it over? Yeah, I think it's the openness of it that maybe was shoehorned in, and maybe that's what we get away from next time.
Okay. And as we kind of wrap into this last little piece, which is the personal take piece, because we kind of, I don't want to ask you the last two things I had. There's one final thing, but I think that might move into your segment quite well.
Okay.
And you already answered my last thing, but was there a moment in this game, and this could be good or bad, was there a moment where you thought, I waited all this time for this?
No. It's a good game, maybe a great game at times. I'm not disappointed by it. The attitude I've had from the moment I started it is I want to judge this game on what it is and not what it isn't.
Okay, that's really healthy.
Yeah. So yeah, there are things I would like out of a perfect Metroid game, a perfect Metroid Prime game, that this game does not do. But it's not bad. I told you what was bad about it, and that's kind of it. Beyond the things we've talked about, I don't really have a lot of other issue with this game.
Nice. Well, that's pretty strong, given everything, I would say.
Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to ask you, which you can tell me if you just want this to transition into yours, is just to give me your 20-second pitch to somebody who's on the fence.
Okay. Yeah. 20 seconds. Let's put
you don't have to because I know your part is to convince me. So rather than doing that, if you want to move into yours, that is also fine.
Well, I'll give you a quick, just because I want to focus on this
elevator pitch
for this question.
Elevator pitch.
Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is a great game to showcase the power of your Switch, and especially your Switch 2. Metroid Prime, the original, is unlike any other video game out there. And while this game doesn't quite revolutionize things the way that game did, it does still harken back to it quite a bit. And I do think it's worth playing.
All right.
I think that's right around.
That's pretty good.
20. Yeah.
You got me with I feel like you knew where to go with the power of the Switch. I was like, oh man, all right.
Like I said, it's different than anything else I've played on there.
Okay. I like visually. That.
Yeah.
I like that. Well, that's my interview. That's what I've got. So I really like a lot of the things I've learned. I feel like I have a really good understanding of how you feel about it. I really enjoy how much good you have to say about it while still ranking it 3 in the third spot.
Yeah.
Because that tells me a lot about how high you hold the rest of the series.
Sure.
And so I think that's really big. So I'm curious now what you have for me in terms of convincing me to play the game.
Yeah. So, okay. So I get it. Zelda is incredible. I love The Legend of Zelda. You can argue. It's not even really an argument, right? It is the better franchise. There are so many. Both have some of the highest rated best games of all time, right? And Zelda, I think, has more of them, and that's okay.
All
Maybe.
right.
I don't know. I'd have to actually put it on paper and see. But yeah, I mean, Zelda has an excellent formula. There's a reason it's as popular as it is. But I feel like from the beginning, there have been so many similarities between these two franchises. And they've kind of always been in tandem. You know, they're both original NES franchises.
Yeah.
Both from, have the same anniversary, 1986. Both started as very they were very experimental in how open they were.
Yeah.
And I have here, some common core like through lines in the series are that these games are usually they focus a lot on exploration, boss battles, which we talked about, atmospheric environments and music, replayability, and collection of new items, abilities, and upgrades to move past gated progress points. So, Zelda definitely I don't know, it's funny because we talk about Metroidvanias and how, you need this ability to get through that door, to reach that ledge. Zelda absolutely does that.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can't, especially you think to Link to the Past, you're like on the river and then you see that post of it and you're like, the hell's that? Like, how do I get over there? And then eventually you will, right?
What is this?
You know, but at the time you have no idea. And that's very Metroid in design. Like that's, very similar.
Wait, were you talking about the original Legend of Zelda where you see like the thing, like the surf, what am I thinking of?
No, so I'm talking like Link to the Past, like where you'll have the post like alongside the river as you're like walking by, The original Zelda, and I think the original Metroid, like they're great. They did a lot for video games, I think, and experimented quite a bit to get us to where we are. Neither one is one that I necessarily recommend. Obviously we're not, putting Zelda on blast here, but
Sure.
but the original Metroid, I'll spoiler alert, that's not going to be one I recommend for you. That's okay. I don't really recommend that to anybody unless you really, really want to see where it all started, but that's okay. The other thing too that I know you'll appreciate is that I think a lot of at least kind of the mainline Metroid games have really good art direction for their time, and a lot of that has some staying power. I talked about the art direction in Metroid Prime 4, but I think the original also had a great visual look to it, and on Switch and remastered just is better than ever. But even you go back to Super Metroid on the Super Nintendo, like that has the pixel art in that game is amazing.
Yeah.
And I think, and then you see what they did with Fusion and Zero Mission on the Game Boy and Advance, and like that's excellent. Now some of the other ones, the DS ones, sure, they're not lookers, but that's okay. But I did want to point out here that when you're talking about Metroid, you are talking about some extremely highly rated games. So I pulled some Metacritic scores for what was going to be a few, but turned out to be a lot of Metroid games. So of course at the top you've got Metroid Prime, which is the original release, a 97 on Metacritic.
Wow.
The remastered, 94. Prime 2, 92 on Metacritic. Fusion, also a 92. Metroid Prime Trilogy on Wii at 91. Prime 3, a 90. Zero Mission on the Game Boy Advance at 89. Dread, 88.
Wait. Which one was the 89?
Zero Mission. So that's a remake of the original. That's for the Game Boy Advance on Switch Online.
Okay.
I played it last year when that came to the service. It's a really good one.
First one to fall out of the 90 percentile, but
it is, but it's not 89. 89's good.
It's a remake.
All right. Yeah, I mean we're going in descending order here.
Okay.
Then you got Hunters for the DS 85, Samus Returns on the 3DS 85, and Prime 4 at an 80. So right there, you've got a lot of great games of varying degrees there, but nothing wrong with an 89.
No.
Of course, Super Metroid predates Metacritic, but I did find that on GameRankings.com they had it at a 97%.
Whoa.
And it's worth noting that when you look at these, best Metroidvanias, best games of all time, best Nintendo games, Super Metroid is always very high, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. Because there's something about the way that game controls and moves that is pretty timeless.
Yeah.
I definitely have some. I like the feel of Dread more. But I mean it's a game that came out almost 30 years later, right? Like, it does feel a little smoother, but
something about Metroid being ranked in its like Metroidvania compliance is
Yeah.
like the funniest thing to me for some reason. It's like if there was like Jordanania, I'm like, he's only at 80%. I'm like, I am him.
Right. I mean, that's always the argument, right? Is like, why do we call them Metroidvanias when really they're Metroid likes? Like Super Metroid made the blueprint.
Right.
And then sure, Castlevania was kind of the first one to like take it and then do one with Symphony of the Night. And now it's just in there. It's forever locked in.
Yeah.
But it really just kind of copied Metroid's homework a little bit.
Yeah.
And it added, RPG mechanics and all that. I get that. But yeah, they're Metroid likes. But right there, that should tell you the Super Metroid spawned an entire genre that is still strong today. Huge in the indie space. I wanted to look at some of your favorite games. Okay. And I wanted to connect them, show you the parallels here. So we're going to start with Zelda, of course. As I mentioned, obvious parallels, exploration, items, bosses. I think particularly the Prime games really borrow a lot from Zelda. I talked about kind of the structure, the almost temple boss structure that Prime 4 has. And I think 2 and 3, I feel like it's been going that way as we get away from the original game. Although the original has excellent bosses, like that is the most pure expression of it.
Yeah.
And I would absolutely recommend that you play through that game, but I get that might not be the best place to start. So we got Zelda. Then I've got Dead Space and Little Nightmares here. All right. I know you like both of these franchises.
Mm-hmm.
Atmospheric, dark, creepy.
Oh yeah.
A lot of, some cool designs going on. How about Portal? You like some Portal? Yeah. Some puzzle solving in 3D. Sound familiar? Yeah. And then I know, maybe not necessarily one of your favorites of all time, but you did put some solid time into Hollow Knight Silksong earlier this year.
Yeah.
Which it's a very straight Metroidvania. In that same vein of Super and Dread. So it's not like this is coming out of nowhere. Like,
yeah, no, I mean, you're building a solid case. You did some research.
Yeah. So there are some strong places, I think, to start. We talked about Metroid Prime 4, which I do recommend. It's the new hotness, so I'd understand if you wanted to start there. And like I said, I think that's going to feel the most classic Zelda-like of the Prime games. I would love if you started at Metroid Prime Remastered, because that's the one.
Okay.
But I get it. And then I did write down Metroid Dread and Fusion, because I think especially Dread just feels so modern, the way Samus moves.
Yeah.
Like it's
I want to play Dread. I think about playing it a lot.
So in the inverse of what we're talking about with Prime 4, Dread does a lot of cool things with power-ups and the way you move and get around and fight. I think Dread is a great place to start.
Okay.
Yeah. Although it sounded like, Zero Mission, it sounded like that kind of caught your eye.
Yeah.
I like Zero Mission a lot, but that was kind of that was the first time where it clicked. Like, I had Prime 2 on the GameCube. But then we were like it was around this time of year, we went to some, family Christmas thing, and I had Zero Mission on the Game Boy. And I just remember sitting there playing that like all night. And that's kind of when Metroidvanias and Metroid, the series, kind of all clicked for me. So
I love that.
Yeah. You can go wrong. You don't start at Other M. Don't start at, the NES Metroid 2. But yeah, I think there's some good places there.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good pitch. That's a good pitch. I know that I want to dip my toes more into Metroid. I just don't know where to start. I know now, probably not here, but I know that I want to do it. And I feel like, honestly, Dread might be the place for me to start.
Dread's a good place to start. I think, the Switch has all of the ones worth playing, with the exception of Prime 2 and 3. They're all there. So you've got some good spots. as good as Super is, because I'm sure people are like, why is he not suggesting that? It's an old game. We were very young when that game came out.
Yeah.
And I just don't think I think there are better places to start.
Yeah.
I think you could play it and figure out and have a fun time, but like, I think you will really click with Dread, for example. Because Dread, even being a 2D game, Dread does such cool things with like its cutscenes and like just the atmosphere, and it's got things running around in the background while you're like in the foreground. They really nailed the assignment with Dread.
Okay. No, I've seen that. I've seen the level design. I know what it looks like. I've heard some of it. I've watched people play it. It does look like something that I would enjoy. So I mean, that game always kind of sits in the back of my mind because I'll see, specials and stuff for it, and I'm like, maybe now's the time.
Yeah.
Well,
I happen to have an extra cartridge if you would like to borrow it. You
have 2 cartridges?
So I have it digital, and then when I bought that collector's edition, it has one with the steelbook.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I might have to take you up on that, actually.
Yeah. It's a great one. Maybe my favorite original Switch game.
Wow.
Tears of the Kingdom is probably the answer. But if I'm not counting, I'm not counting remasters, re-release, all that kind of stuff, like just a pure Switch game, I think Metroid Dread is right there.
Man, I don't know what mine would be.
There's good ones.
There are good ones. A lot of good ones.
I do have a Switch postmortem planned for the coming months. So we'll talk all about the Switch's library and greatest hits when we get there. But
good Lord.
I think we've given Metroid a thorough talking to today.
I think so. That was really thorough. I appreciate you answering all my questions.
Yeah. So if you are listening and watching, feel free to ask any questions yourself. If maybe you have questions about the game that you're wondering about, I'm happy to answer them. Maybe you have reasons Jordan should play Metroid that I did not mention. You should let him know. And obviously, any other comments are always welcome. This has been Podcasting with Power. We're available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all those fun places. I'm Zachary Davis, and that's Jordan Carlson. We're going to see you next time.
Bye.